You got some great teeth.
Not even a chick.
Too.
What are you guys talking about?
For 5 months, I was complaining. Why did COVID happen? Why did I lose my job? Why am I not working? Why this? Why that? Now I see.
It's the thing that showed me why nobody like stuck around.
You make me live it by telling the story.
When you're really viral,
You make me live it by telling the story.
I think it's the Jaeger. It's early too.
I already worked out once today.
So here we are with
Yes.
Paulie Paulie
Yes,
K.
sir.
Look at the little belly shirt on this piece. If you want to know what that part is, you got to check out the interview with Alicia and Paulie and Nikki and myself, because we did a great interview with these guys. Conversation, not really interview, picking each other's brains, getting to know each other. And they were willing to put their life on display with their marriage and things like that. And you'll hear the Paulie K and the belly shirt story right there in the front.
Yeah,
So it's right here on the YouTube channel.
I remember telling her, like, hey, by the way, in 2 weeks, I'm moving to California. We've been together 20 years. Like, why should we?
There's nothing
off the table. Give me the most awkward moment and I'll spearhead that shit. Yeah. Because, like, if you would have told me, here's what I need, I would put that above everything else. And for you not to do that makes me feel like I'm not important.
God, don't let a week go by.
A week? That's the After Dark series.
Freakin Blessed After Dark.
Okay, there's no one in this world that will ever make me feel more valid, even on my downest days. Like, he just makes me feel like the most amazing, beautiful thing in this world.
YouTube channel.
That was such a great time. Such a great time. Glad we got to do that.
So that's we lined up a time for us to get together and talk as dads and husbands and married men who have different roles and professions and all these other things. And so, Paulie, besides, I'm going to give a couple bullet points and just do a quick, let's like a briefer than we probably took a 45-minute breaking the ice session on our first conversation. But so on this one, just whatever, if you want to expand on something about the family, but essentially, Paulie's a guy who's been married or together with his wife over 20 years. They've been married over a decade, over 11, I believe.
Yep.
And so, we relate to that time frame, because that means you were basically a kid when it all started. And so was Nikki and I. And so that's that. 2 girls, 5 and 3. I'll let you talk about them. Ariana and Stasi, is that correct? And I always want to say them right, because these are Greek names, correct?
Yeah. So Ariana is a Greek name, and then Anastasia is how you say it in Greek, but we call her Stasi for short because no one can say Anastasia, or you say Anastasia, I guess would be the way to.
Would be, and I still said it wrong. Anastasia, right?
Yeah. So no, you hit the nail on the head, dude. Been together with the wife, so about 20 years or so, and we've been married for 11. 2 daughters, 3 and 5, and been through anything and everything, especially when you meet that young, go through growing pains together, because you got to grow as individuals, you got to grow as a couple. And what am I, 41 now? 41. And I love my life, dude. It's great. Not to say it doesn't come with struggle sometimes, but I love it. Love my life.
Yeah, it's funny. A lot of times, guys like us, we sit here and I think we're more and more rare where the family guy is truly a relevant segment of society. I don't know what that came to mind to say, but that's how it feels. And you just don't see it anywhere, or you don't see it everywhere. And if you do, usually it's, I don't know. And I've been there too, man, where you put on the front for the public, and then, you're hollering and elbowing little kids in the jaw as soon as you get behind the house, closed doors, or getting them in the car, and it's not really real.
Sure.
And, that's why we're having conversations, getting to know each other, even how you're helping with Freakin Blessed and giving the feedback and frankly, like offering consulting ideas, like does that stuff matching up, and that's a big part of what we stand for.
Yeah.
So no, I think it's really cool. And at the same time, I think you understand that you don't, like, when I say I love my life to someone, or dude, things are so good, or whatever, there's almost this thing where you feel the need why do we feel, I'm going to ask you this. There you go. Here's our first question. Why do you feel the need, if you do, because I do, to almost give a disclaimer or an explanation that it's not perfect? Why do we have to throw that on the end? Well, no, because you did. That's why it came to my mind, because I do it.
I totally did. And I think here's the reason why. I think because we live in this world that's so dominated by social media and putting up a front to everything, right? Like people live behind a screen these days, whether it's by phone, by computer, or whatever, and you always want to put your best foot forward. So I got caught up in that. Yeah, I got caught up with that. Like, you know what I mean? Like meeting new people when you're younger and like you exaggerate about what you do or how much money you make or this or that because you always want to be, you know, the top dog or whatever it is.
Yep.
For me now, I place more value in not only telling the truth, but being able to help people realize like, dude, it's okay. It doesn't matter where you're at in life or whatever. It's better to be like front and honest about it. So like people see my life on Facebook and whatever, right? And I post the good and the bad, the ugly, most of it. I don't air out all our dirty laundry, but everybody's like, oh man, your life is so great and whatever. But it's not to say it doesn't come with its own hiccups. Like everybody has their own issues and it's okay to have those. And be it, not only is it okay to have them, it's even better to be able to talk about them. That's why I'm glad, like when you start your Freakin Blessed community, like, and ask me to be a part of it, like, dude, are you kidding me? Like, this is perfect. This is what the world needs. The world needs to be able to see through the bullshit, have a group where you can go and feel okay talking about your issues, your problems, whatever the case may be, without any judgment, because everybody goes through shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's why I give a disclaimer, because to me, I feel like I can help alleviate a person's anxiety or whatever by saying that. Like, my life is perfect, but that's not to say it's perfect all the time.
So it's an empathy piece. It's a piece to connect to somebody who's listening. And when we say things like, man, dude, my life is it's so great where it is. Because if you just stop there, the person who's more insecure based on, you know, the image stuff, the false perceptions, the insecurities, that's the person who is pretty much like feeling discouraged that they can't have that.
Yeah, you're totally right. You're totally right. And I never want to make anybody feel like that. You know, like it's just not me as a person. I want people to feel comfortable. I want people to feel good. Like I walk up to people and like, you know, I'm the kind of guy that says, hey, hello, how are you doing? Make them smile or whatever.
Did you stand up for little kids when you were young if they were getting name called or
No. I was the complete opposite. When I was younger, I think
you were the bully.
Oh yeah. That's why I'm where I'm at now, because I've been on the other side and like I did all the picking on and whatever. And it was because it brought me attention. It took any negative spotlight away from me because I was directing it to someone else. But then you realize like you're hurting these people and whatever else. So I go out of my way. I can't tell you, dude, like if it was up to me, I'd be ordained a saint. But there's plenty of things that I do to make me not a saint. But I'm saying, like, I go out of my way to help people, to make people feel good. Like, I want people to be comfortable, and bet your ass, like, if I see any bullying going on now, oh, dude, I'm right inside of it, my business or not, because the world doesn't need that. You know what I mean? The world needs love and, you know, caring and, you know, human connection. But yeah, that's where I'm at now. On the good side. I've been to the dark side. Not fun, but it made me who I am. A
lot of times I picture people who are younger, and if they're more aggressive or they're the bully type, because I was not like that at all. And probably it was built in that I couldn't be by default because I was always so small, always just undersized for the age, you know, late bloomer.
Okay.
I would see kids get picked on, and it always bothered me. And sometimes I would say something, and sometimes I wouldn't. But if I did, it was like I was always on the borderline of totally freaked out, scared, and wanting to be freaking He-Man.
Yeah. Sure.
And, you know, I know that was a big part of why I joined the military, and it's just a huge part of who I am, man. Even these days, like when I go out, I'm constantly scanning for somebody who's a danger to society.
Really? It's in your
Constantly.
blood. It's in your blood like that, huh?
Big time. Like I've had to look at my path, all these choices I've taken. It was like it always had to do with crushing evil and lifting someone.
Mm-hmm.
And like, but on the front line of it, do you know of the Marine Colonel Grossman?
No.
He made this little parable. It's like a 1-page story, but he talks about the parable of essentially sheep, wolves, and sheepdogs.
Mm-hmm.
So the sheep are the people who are just general society, civilians. Wolves are people who are evil, people who are driven by darkness, who are bad, right? We're talking bad people.
Mm-hmm.
There's liars and there's unethical people, but they're probably just dirtbags. There's evil people, sheep, wolves, and sheepdogs. The sheep, society, wolves, bad people, sheepdogs, the protectors. And here's why sheepdogs get a lot of crap. Because they're canines like the wolf.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
They're dogs. They are fierce and they were born to fight, hunt, and protect. The difference is sheepdogs have to sometimes, they're the good-hearted. They're there to fight and defeat the wolf, but their potential for violence is huge. It's huge. And I know mine is. I knew it from my hockey days when I would do some things sometimes that I probably shouldn't have done on the ice, like in fights, like try to stick my finger in a guy's eye socket.
I never knew you played hockey.
Yeah. That was my number one thing.
Dude, I played hockey for a big part of my life. I know
Yeah.
exactly what you mean.
Yeah. So that was there. Like, and another thing about it is that the sheepdogs, sometimes the sheep will get out of the pen or get out of line, or they're getting rowdy with the other sheep, and a sheepdog has to come in and sometimes nip an ankle. This is real. Do I sound like I have a farm? Do I sound like a shepherd? But like they do, right? Like that's the point of the story. We could have read the story way faster than how I'm explaining it.
Yeah, but I'm following you a lot better than probably had I read the story.
More entertaining, I'm sure. So that's the deal, right? And sometimes a sheepdog barks and it looks like a wolf and it's scary and it can bite and it kind of stays on its own. It doesn't hang out with the sheep. So is it too good for the sheep? These are the thoughts, right? Like, so sheep, wolves, sheepdogs, that's the point. I when I read that for the first time, it was probably 10 years ago or more, I knew immediately that was me. And it explained so many things about my personality. Why do I love people, but I really don't like them that much? And when I say people, I speak as group think, like as wholes. Because individually, dude, it's very rare I meet somebody I don't like. Individually. It taught me a lot about myself. And it's taken a long time to make that a part of who I am, because a lot of the frustration that I've dealt with, even after coming home and the army was all done and all that stuff, it had to do with, why can't you see I'm just trying to help you?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I get it.
When that stuff pops up, especially after Afghanistan, it comes up in a way that if you don't understand, I mean, because we just finally started understanding a couple of years ago, but if you don't understand and you've never seen me go into mode now where I think somebody's at threat or a kid might be ran over by somebody, like, but my trigger is faster, or it's more, my escalation is more severe. My trigger is actually, it's gotten slower than it's ever been since I came home. Like,
okay, that totally makes sense. That totally makes sense.
But the escalation is something that happens that's new to me too, and it goes to the point where I've had to learn how to stay in control.
Yeah.
Bringing it all back in, that was in me since I was a little kid. Being bothered that somebody was getting picked on or put gum in her hair, or, you know, on the bus, these kind of things. But I think that's my outlet, was the Army, and then going into trauma nursing, which is more of the science side. And because I've never been the burly dude like you.
See, that's awesome. It's funny how we're both kind of in the same ballpark, but we took different paths to get there. So I like the fact that you mentioned in the beginning when you were like, oh, I see someone get bullied, but I was afraid to say anything and whatever else. After I was the bully, then I started going down that route where I would see my friends or whoever bullying other kids, and I would try to de-escalate the situation, right? Thank you so much. I would try to de-escalate the situation.
Oh, shoot. Mamacita delivery?
So
You were all formal too, like you didn't know her.
Yeah. Oh,
thank you so much. Can I get your name for the tip?
So good. Yeah, but I would try to de-escalate the situation because I still had that piece of shit person in me that still did the bullying or whatever, but I start coming light like, hey, this isn't cool. You know what I mean? And then fast forward to 20, 30 years, 40 years later, now that I have kids, and that stop sign story you said, I cannot tell you, I have a stop sign in front of my house. Like, I cannot tell you how many people run that stop sign. And I can't tell you how many times, every time I'm out front, like, I see like if I'm cutting the grass, no joke, or just outside, I see cars coming up. I start getting all puffy chested, and I start like try to look intimidating because I want them to come to a stop.
Man.
Yeah, dude, I totally peacocked.
God gave you that chest.
Dude, I totally peacocked.
I gave you my teeth.
Yeah. You got some great teeth.
I don't know where that came from, dude. Big chest,
bro.
Big teeth.
You got some great teeth.
You're not even a chick. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, no, absolutely, dude.
I'm grateful.
Look at that. Look at that smile.
I say thank you in my prayers.
You know what?
Thanks for the teeth, Lord.
I do too.
What are you guys talking about?
Oh,
okay, I have to go.
We're live.
I have to go.
I need one more. Come on, one more before you go. God, I love you so much. I'm gonna give you the biggest shout outs.
That's what she said. One more before you go.
She's flipping me off. I'm gonna make you famous, baby. Yeah, but the stop sign thing, right? And so like being the protector now. I went from being the bullier to being the protector. And I was on that route before I had kids. But now that I have children, they're the world to me. Like, I don't want anything to happen to them to the point where I'm not going to say I'm too controlling, but the environment that they're in, I want to know is safe, right?
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's cars driving by a stop sign, whether it's people around swearing or whatever else. Not to say I don't swear in front of my kids because I drop at least 6 F-bombs a day in front of them. But better not let me hear you do it because I don't know you and you're not their dad or whatever else. You know what I mean? But yeah,
you know your intent.
Yeah, and I'm the protector now, even with my wife, like telling her to be careful when she's by herself and just things like that. It's different as you get older.
So when you were younger, have you thought about what, like, so from what I understand, I've always thought it was somebody who had a very rough home life and they were taking all that anger out on other people. That's what I understand bullies as kids to be.
Yeah, I would agree with you there, but not in my case. In my case, I had the most loving home. I always got what I needed. Most of the time got what I wanted. For me, it was because I wasn't happy with myself. I was truly not happy with myself. How
old were you when you first had that awareness? Did you have to look back on that part though?
I had to look back on that part.
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah,
I don't know what kid would think of that at 9 years old.
Yeah, no, yeah, right. Some kind of fucking
grade
genius.
Was a bitch today. Yeah. But I really think that I'm not feeling good about myself. And Mr. Lieberman in the library.
Oh,
I'm just deflecting.
Yeah, that's some genuine self-awareness right there for 9 years old. Oh, but yeah, no, I totally had to look back on that. Probably between 16 and 19 years old, somewhere in there, that I started to realize why I was doing what I was doing. So
you were doing it from when you were small?
Yes, absolutely. Well, so it started by being a class clown, right? Because I wanted validation. I wanted people to like me.
Yeah.
And started with being a class clown. And then around 13, got to being a bully till about 16, 17 even, being a bully. And then So it kind of had to do with hockey as well. So I was always good at hockey, right? Like I would always I'm a goalie. I was a goalie. I would always play. I played AAA all my life. But then when I was 16 and you're playing with like 18-year-olds and going on tournaments cross country, you're on the ice 29 out of 30 days a month, right? So at that point, I wanted to start smoking weed, hanging out with my friends, and I thought hockey was a burden. So long story longer, I stopped skating. I turned to shit. Like I just became a degenerate. You know what I mean?
This
Lost
is
any.
you touched on this our first talk.
Really? Did I?
You touched
Okay.
it. Didn't get into it.
Okay. I was a bad kid, and my parents were like, you are going to go to military school, or we're going to move the family. 2 weeks after high school graduation, we moved out to Connecticut. I just turned into a degenerate, just started partying and hanging out, got fat, and then at 18, or right after I graduated high school, like it got to the point where I was in trouble with the law and all kinds of shit. And my parents were like, my dad was like, listen, dude, he's like, we're moving the family on account of you, because he wanted to send me to military school. He was like, you're fucking, like, I don't know who you are anymore. So anyway, we moved for about a year to the East Coast, Connecticut, and then got my life back together, started working out, started going to church on my own, not being forced to, you know what I mean? And as I was like mentally and physically and spiritually growing is when I started to realize that's the reason I was a piece of shit, because I wanted to be loved, admired, and liked by everybody. So it went from being the class clown to getting the laughs to being the bully that everybody was afraid of or whatever else, just to validate myself. And I think that's why I am who I am now, is because I've been that asshole. So now when I see that at this age, it doesn't matter who it is, whether it's kids, whether it's whatever, I don't like it. You know what I mean? I put an end to it. And yeah, that's why I'm more of a protector now, where before I was, a predator.
Excuse me. Yeah. Where I see it these days the most is with men toward their families. But it's not fair to say like that's where it only happens, because that's mostly our world typically. I mean, I don't hang around single people that much. I don't hang around people under 35 very often. Like he's got her younger girlfriends, and we're seeing, those relationships are at different stages.
What do you see that is being directed towards
misplaced
family?
aggression?
Yeah. Where does it stem from, do you think?
It's probably a guy who sacrificed his soul and he's bitter about it. I mean, if I'm going to oversimplify,
sure,
generalize, that's what I've seen. I see somebody who maybe feels like they missed out on something and that they can't have it back. So they talk about that, and that's where life kind of stays at whatever old glory day it was. Usually it was senior year somewhere.
Yeah, sure.
20 years living with dissatisfaction with yourself. You became upset as a kid and fixed it as a kid. Essentially, you caught it still as a person who didn't know who he was yet.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then you see these guys who, and that's what I think. And I feel bad for them these days, and I just keep away.
Do you think some of it is because either A, they don't know how to fix it, or they don't recognize the problem, or B, they're too afraid to face that problem?
I think they're blind. I think sometimes that's the majority. I think there's every now and again, there's a little tiny fraction of the pie chart that could be accounted for, where they get knocked on their shoulder while they're driving on their own to and from work, or that maybe they, for a rare instance, they play with the kid in the backyard for a minute. And because they're so busy with their business or their job, that like that stuff, like when they feel the guilt, because that will come. Like I feel that guilt, tap on the shoulder. Where are you? Yeah, the kids need time. Like if that even comes up, because I know that I've caught it with myself in the past too, where it's just like, okay, no, I'm busy. I'm working. I'm busy.
Yeah.
But for the person who's not, like, you have an awareness, you have the part of your whatever's inside. We've talked about this before, where you have a thing where you're naturally curious and you wonder and you want to know and you want to learn and you want to see. The way I see it in my experience is that most people do not have that. They don't have a desire to learn, grow, and change, or to become a better product for those around them, or the family that they're in, or whatever relationship. Like, people don't think of themselves as products. And I don't mean to make it sound superficial or trite or like whatever, shallow, but I do. That is like to have the desire to dig and learn and grow on yourself as a project. And I heard this from a seminar speaker a long time ago. That's probably why it's in my head, is that now that I'm remembering this. When you learn to work on yourself, like, so you think about your priorities and goals, right? And okay, I want to have, for guys like us, we're like, okay, well, I want to have a great family. I want to have I want to have X, Y, Z in my family. I want a beautiful wife I get along with great, and we're both attracted to each other, and maybe we want X amount of kids. Maybe we want no kids, whatever. You define that out. But how many people sit there and literally think to themselves, who do I need to be in that picture, in that frame that's 10 years from now? Because it takes time to build relationships and depth of roots. Who do I need to be so that picture can actually become a reality?
Wow. I'll tell you this, out of 41 years that old that I am, I've never looked at that in that perspective. I might known that I need to grow or whatever on account of me, but I've never put myself in that situation to say, here's what I want or what have you. How do I get there? How do I cultivate that? As opposed to, here's what this person needs to be, here's what this person needs to be, here's what this person needs to be. You know
why
what I
can't
mean?
why can't they just?
Yes.
And I've had, dude, I notoriously,
that's huge right there.
Selfishness is in my genes. Like, we have similar personalities and a lot of crossover with that. And part of that sometimes I think I'm situationally extroverted.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
Because most of the time, like, I love this. I like being able to serve people. I like speaking in front of people. I like doing that in groups. But if you see the 80 to 90% of my life that is also every bit of what I want and have to have, most of the time I'm just alone in this office, in this little, that's it. 'Cause this is my office. We're outgoing people built into our personality. There's a sense that we like to show off. I got kids that like to show off what they're learning on the trampoline. Like, it's a show off thing. And then you learn and grow through that, hopefully. But to become that product for those around us is the humble thing. That's the humility thing. And let me define how I use the word humble. There's the old cliche. It's not thinking of less of yourself. Let me say it again. It's not thinking less of yourself. It's just thinking of yourself less.
Okay.
Or you could say less often.
Yeah.
Right? But yes, when we think about ourselves as who do I need to be so that vision can happen. So I can have a wife that's excited to come home, and maybe right at the door, we just get going. Like, who do I need to be so she can be that woman? And at the same time, it's a win-win.
You know what? And I still struggle with that, especially when you're talking about the wife, because I mean, we've been together 20 years, married for 11, and there's still growth that happens every day for both of us. For me, it's a lot of it is, why can't you be this? Why can't you be that? Why can't you be this? And I think a lot of it is because we're going to get deep. So follow me here, right? When you marry someone or you're with someone and you get these promises, like, this is who I am, this is what I'm going to do. And we lay it out like we're going to map together the rest of our lives, right? So I said, okay, here's what I expect, or my expectations of a wife. And here's what I would like. And then she did the same thing. So when you get these promises like, okay, I will do this, I will do that, I will do this, and then that doesn't happen over the course of a year, 3 years, 5 years, you start getting bitter. That's when you start getting in the mode of like, well, why can't you be this? Why can't you be that? But at the same time, life is fluid. Life's not set in stone, like this is your path, this
Keeps
is whatever.
shifting.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Every day things happen. So one thing I learned, and I'm still learning, is that you have to take these hurdles in stride, right? Like you have to be able to be fluid with the situation. I have to be a better person. So I'll give you an example, and I don't know how relatable this is, but this really hit me the other day. So I got laid off because of COVID, April 31st or April 30th, whatever, right? The last day before May. I haven't worked since then. So thankfully I got a decent severance package, and with unemployment and money that I had saved, whatever else, I haven't worked in fuck. It's been 6 months. I need to get off my lazy ass, whatever. But I was talking to my brother the other day, and I was like, dude, this sucks. I haven't worked in this long. Now, granted, I haven't been looking or what have you, but I was talking to him about it, and I was like, this sucks that I haven't had any offers that was as good as what I was doing and whatever. And he says, yeah, but look, you got to look at the bright side. He's like, look at the positive things excuse me, he didn't even say that. While I was talking about it, I realized it. And this happened yesterday, by the way, but at the same time, I was able to stay at home for 5 or 6 months while my wife finished the radiology program. So she didn't have to worry. And she would be able to focus on school, and she was working and whatever else. So by me sacrificing who I was and what I was doing allowed her to free that up. And now I'm starting to see where the roads are coming together again to propel us to where we need to be. Does that make sense? Like
100%.
Okay, good. Because I got lost when I was
100%.
talking about it. I was living in the moment and I totally got lost about it. But I can't tell you. And like, I thanked God the other day. So I pray every night. And I sometimes I go through the motions, right? But last night
Don't humans?
yeah, I mean, that's
Only
yeah.
non-human people don't. Their prayer life is perfect.
So usually I go through the motions, but last night, I thank God and I said, thank you for letting me see this, because I was
Thank
just
you for letting me see this.
Yeah.
Usually people get shown and they run the other way.
Dude, it was just such an epiphany for me. And I was like, all this time I was complaining about, oh, I got to watch the kids every day. Oh, I'm not working. Oh, I got to do this. Oh, I got to do that. But the whole time I allowed my wife to focus on her program at school, to finish it. She's already got a job. She's making great money. And now everything's starting to come together. So while God or whatever is taking me down this path, I was bitching about it the whole time. And then as the roads are starting to merge, I'm starting to see why I was going this way. So the whole time for 5 months, I was complaining and bitching. Why did COVID happen? Why did I lose my job? Why am I not working? Why this? Why that? Now the roads are merging. And yesterday I said, thank you for all that's happened, because now I see why it happened.
That's sick.
It's
I love
amazing,
it,
dude.
dude.
Eye-opening, bro.
What's that?
Eye-opening for me.
Yes, you described it. I love the way you described it, because you took me back to something that I had a realization of within the last under 2 weeks.
Okay. Talk to me. Tell me about it. I want to hear it.
Just the way you described it, it's a very similar situation.
Okay.
I like that you said deep. And if you noticed earlier, I did this. It was like a knowing sort of grin. Okay, good. Because I don't know, like it would happen on our last talk too. I don't know if I'm going to get to share some of the things that happen, and I don't itch to do it. I'm not pulling on anyone
Right. Sure.
to say it. But when it comes up, and then it comes up, and then boom, I love it.
Yeah.
That's why Freakin Blessed in this podcast and the influence that we will have, it's because of conversations like this, where God, our friend, our wife, our husband shows us something. Our kids, usually our kids, they show us something and we go, No, thank you. Give me another beer, dear. Get out of the way of the TV, damn it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I know. Guilty. Been there. But I do know this. You have something. I have something. I know other people who have something that thing inside them, when they're shown that thing, they're like, oh, give it to me.
Yeah.
Give it to me. You go to work on it. You're sawing on it. It's a project.
Yep.
And when the man of the house, want to be a man of the house, big guy, when he takes himself on, and then instead of his wife
Mm-hmm.
as the project to fix, the whole house can change. It's difficult because I don't know if my wife left or not. Man, females can be tough to manipulate and move around. And I don't mean negatively, but
I know. Yeah.
Finger in the ribs. But no, these some of these chicks can be tough to lead, man.
Yeah.
They can be tough to influence. And like, I'm over here going, like, when you're really a virile guy, right? I'm using like sexual terms. I think it's the Jaeger. It's early too. What time is it? What time is it in Universal?
3:47 right now. I already worked out once today, so I'm good. But I don't know if we keep chit chatting and having drinks. I don't know if I'm getting to the gym again.
When we figure out what that thing is inside somebody, 9 out of 10 times, the people that go to the self-help seminars, like, which they changed my life. Okay. But I used them to change my life. Like, people that typically go because they get their dopamine hits and their serotonin release, and they get told that they're a winner when maybe they've never won or finished anything in their life. I showed up as a dude who was riding talent, bro. I was riding talent, and I was 27 years old when it came along. And this was like right at the end of the needles, right? It was actually that environment who helped me get off of that. Like, when I say help me, because they gave me a new target to be addicted to.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
That target became the rough edges of myself. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I'm following you. Yeah.
So when I put things in my own thoughts, I don't know if it always translates clarity to somebody else. So I just wait a second to see if that made sense. Because in here it does.
Yeah, that's why when I was telling my story, I had asked you, because when you're passionate about something, you get lost telling the story. Like, I don't even know if I looked at the computer. I was just in another zone, like living the moment again. So like, but I think when you get like that, the passion, I can follow your passion. So even if I'm not familiar with what you're talking about, you make me live it by telling the story. So
okay, cool.
I'm good with that.
Sounds cool. Never heard that before. Yeah. Like, what's that thing? Because I'll tell you what it was for me. It was as simple as this. This is the thing that turned everything for me. That thought that happened back then. It was, I've messed up everything. Remember I told you the books?
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
Changing life changers. Yep. Just the few.
That's why they're there.
This might sound funny, and I don't sell books, and I don't have affiliate links. But I'm going to show this book.
Okay.
Because it needs to be shown.
Let's see it.
It's the thing that showed me literally why I was so offensive, why I was so grating on people, obnoxious, why easy to make friends with charm and smile and 25 and like whatever it was, right?
Yeah.
But nobody like stuck around. Or nobody was ringing my phone off the hook to hang out.
Nothing substantial.
Nothing. And when I read this thing, it was like the first thing I ever read, almost. Everything changed. And since then, I believe it's the best marriage book ever written, except for the Bible. The husband-wife practicality stuff, right? No sacrilege here. Hey, sorry about that. Totally forgot to mention the book name. It's How to Win Friends and Influence People.
By Dale Carnegie. I can't even see the bottom. Yeah, yes, I've read that.
Yeah, this isn't the original copy. I do have it. It's on my bookshelf upstairs. The original one that I've read a few times.
Great book.
I think the third chapter, I just looked at it recently. That's why it's in my head still. The third chapter, Don't Criticize, Condemn, or Complain. That's the title. And the whole chapter teaches you, basically, as I tell my kids, how to not be a dirtbag. That book changed everything, man. And when I read that and I saw that in myself, we were talking about the camera views earlier, the mirroring, that book in those first 3 chapters, oh my gosh, I think the thought I had was, this is why nobody likes me.
Were you doing all 3 or what?
Remember when you said big shoulders in our first talk? Put it on me. I'll handle it. I'm not going to say anything to anybody. A man does not talk about the burden.
Yeah.
Now, I never had that character trait. So for me, all I did was let you know every reason I couldn't get ahead and why I didn't like something, or even why I didn't like anything in the house. Or now again, I wasn't running around complaining all day long. I've always been a genuinely optimistic and happy person for the most part.
Okay.
My family life, marriage life, lots of definitely seeing the cloudy lining or the gray lining, not the silver one. Definitely a lot of that until that book. And that was as a Jesus claiming husband, dad. So what is that thing you think? Really rare, where a guy or a girl will look at themselves, man or woman will look at themselves and go, I'm the freaking problem. And I'm going to change it. And I'm going to be awesome one day. I'm an awesome dad. I think you're an awesome dad.
Thank you.
And we're not perfect. Is it time for a refill?
I would love one.
This isn't even affecting the thought process yet. It's still early.
I asked my wife to make me another before she left. I'm willing to bet it's downstairs, but she was such in a hurry to get out, she didn't even bring it up. I cannot tell you how many different times I've ran through scenarios about getting divorced.
I did not have the balls to do what I wanted to do for 4 years.
But you can't rely on other things or other people to be perfect.
If I keep going on those lines, I'm just going to keep fulfilling the frustration. What is immediately in front of that I can make flourish today? We try to figure out these rough spots, then we can support each other.
Why couldn't you have done this 10, 11 years ago?
Well, that's only because you haven't let it go.
And you know what? I don't know if I'll ever be able to let it